Let me tell you something that might mess with you a little bit. Most of the damage in your life didn't come from what you did, it came from what you believed. Because before sin ever became an action, it was a thought. Before anyone disobeyed God, someone questioned him. If you don't understand the first lie, you'll keep fighting the wrong enemy. Have you ever noticed this? You can be doing well. You're focused, you're praying, you're trying, and out of nowhere, doubt creeps in. Temptation sounds reasonable, truth feels restrictive, and God feels distance. Nobody showed up at your door, nobody put a weapon in your hand, nobody forced you. It just happened. And you blamed yourself. But Genesis shows us something deeper. The battle didn't start with behavior, it started with belief. Genesis chapter 3. The serpent doesn't attack, he doesn't threaten, he doesn't overpower. He talks, and his first words matter. Did God really say? That's the first lie. Not God isn't real, not God hates you, but something more dangerous. Can you really trust him? The enemy doesn't deny God's existence, he questions God's character. And notice this, he doesn't remove God from the conversation, he reframes him. God goes from loving to limiting, protective to restrictive, truthful to withholding. That's how deception works. The serpent does three things every time. He questions God's word. Did God really say? Translation, is that actually true? Is that outdated? Does God really mean that for you? He distorts God's motive. You won't die. God just doesn't want you to be like him. Translation, God is holding you back. God has stirred your potential. He redefines good and evil. What God called dangerous, the serpent calls desirable. And here's the scary part. The fruit looked good. It made sense. It felt logical. Sin doesn't show up ugly. It shows up reasonable. The character of God, don't miss this. God never lies. But he also never forces. He tells the truth and allows choice. The enemy lies and pretends it's freedom. That's the contrast. God says, trust me. The enemy says, trust yourself. And humanity chose independence over intimacy. Not because God wasn't good, but because the lie sounded better than the truth. This is where people get it wrong. The enemy is not your spouse, your boss, your ex, your parents, your upbringing. Genesis shows us the real enemy doesn't come with fists. He comes with ideas. He attacks identity. He attacks truth. He attacks trust. That's why the Bible later says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, because the fight is invisible. If you don't recognize the voice, you'll think it's your own thoughts. Every struggle traces back to Genesis 3. Addiction, this will make you feel better. Lust, you deserve this. Pride, you know better than God. Shame, God doesn't want you now. Fear, what if God fails you? Same lie, different packaging. The enemy doesn't need new strategies. The first one still works. The lie didn't catch God off guard, though. The moment humanity fell, God spoke redemption. He promises that the serpent's victory is temporary. In other words, the lie doesn't get the last word. Truth does. And later, God doesn't just send instructions. He sends Jesus. Not to argue with the lie, but to destroy it. So, if you've been blaming yourself for every battle in your mind, Genesis tells you, you're not weak. You're in a war. The way you win isn't by trying harder, it's by knowing the truth. Because lies lose their power when they're exposed. And now you know the first one. Next time, we talk about why shame made us hide and why God still came looking. This story is only just getting started.